The under on Kansas City at 10.5. First of all, Mahomes coming off an ACL. Is it possible he won't have the mobility, at least early in the season? They have one of the toughest schedules in the league. Go check out their first 7 games and their last 7 games. It is rough. They're getting old in key spots. Travis Kelce, Chris Jones did not have dominating years. I still think, the offensive line, we like at left tackle, but there's a little finger crossing. I think the early and late schedules are a handful. Again, 10-7 means the under hits. I like the Chiefs under 10.5.
Now that is a spicy take if I've ever seen one. I find it genuinely amusing because Colin has been on this incredible run of being overwhelmingly, almost obnoxiously pro-Kansas City Chiefs recently. And I've called him out on it before. He previously declared, the dynasty's over, it's finished. But then he flipped the script and started saying, don't stop, you guys are doubting the Kansas City Chiefs. He did that last season. He was like, it's not over. And I'm sitting there thinking, but you literally said it was over. And now he's back on the bandwagon again, saying, oh, they're going to bounce back. They're going to be so much better. They're making amazing moves. They're really smart. They know exactly what they're doing. Blah, 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 blah. And yet, here we are, and he has them finishing third in the division at this point. He's got them below the Broncos and the Chargers. So, what do we do with that? Is this all built on the foundation of just thinking that Mahomes might not be 100%? That he'll lose some of his mobility? I get that argument. I understand the logic behind it. But if the Chiefs don't quite look like the Chiefs, if we just have that feeling that things are a little bit different, that would blow me away. And that would be one of the most concerning things I could imagine because then it would add validity to the idea that Mahomes is just not quite the same quarterback. Yeah, we can say, well, he's coming off an ACL. That would all be true, but we would be almost kind of forced to concede, yeah, he's just not quite the same quarterback anymore. And so, you need a significantly better, more balanced team to truly reach greatness or to truly have that floor there. Let's talk about the schedule. Let's just be super basic with it. Let's be as simple and straightforward as we can. The way I always do these wins and losses projections, I always take the easy wins, the games you should technically win, and I'll mark the tough ones as losses. It's not saying that you're definitely going to lose. It's not saying that the other team is better than you. But against the Bills, it should be a tough game, so I just say you lose it, right? That's just the way I work it. But look at the Broncos. Excuse me. You're the Chiefs in the division, which includes the Broncos, obviously. You're going to win less than 3 games in that division? Again, I don't care how much you say, oh, Mahomes is still kind of working through it. You're only going to win less than 3 games, maybe? You're only going to go 2-4 in the division? You're going to lose all the games to the Broncos and the Chargers, but then you're going to beat the Raiders twice or something? Like, that doesn't really make sense. Even a team like the Raiders, a team I believe in tremendously and I'm really excited to see, again, you're the Kansas City Chiefs. You're either going to be playing Mendoza or Kirk Cousins. You can't slow that down at all? First-year head coach, Kirk Cousins, first-year quarterback, Mendoza. You can't beat them twice? One of those games is going to be the 4th game of the season, or the other game is the final game of the season. Come on. And so then I have to imagine if you're not good, then you're not splitting with the Broncos and the Chargers. It's like, what? So, it's got to be minimum 3 or 4 wins in the division. Again, you're the Kansas City Chiefs. What are you talking about? And then you've got the Colts, the Dolphins, the Jets, the Falcons, the Cardinals, and the Patriots that everyone says is not as great as they were. Colin said he doesn't even know if they're going to make the playoffs. And J-Mac was like, man, 8 games is being optimistic, or 9 games is being optimistic. So, okay. And then the 49ers, everyone's like, this is an old man team. This team is just old and achy. And you're playing them by week 16, who knows who's going to be there. So, there are the wins right there. I mean, that basic math right there is just 11 wins. And the reality is, then you are no longer the Chiefs. Like, you are no longer that team. Here's how I always talk about it, we can only use the past as a reference point, right? It can't be the foundation of our talking points. We can't constantly be revisiting 2018, 2019, 2020. You can use it as a reference. It's like, yeah, if you're not ripping off wins against the Colts and the Falcons and the Cardinals and the Patriots and the Raiders, and if you're dropping both games to the Broncos now or both games to the Chargers, and you're falling short against Seattle, it's like you are no longer this Chiefs team. And it doesn't mean that it's over forever. It doesn't mean that you're not going to be competitive. But it's just like you enter the era of the 2023 Buffalo Bills or something, or the 2024 Baltimore Ravens, where you're like, yeah, we're a great team, we're competitive, we got Patrick Mahomes, we got Andy, we'll always be dangerous. But like, we're not always in control of the situation. That to me is what probably defines the Kansas City Chiefs from 2018 onward. They were always in control of the situation. Doesn't mean they're winning every time. Doesn't mean they're winning every game. Doesn't mean they're winning the Super Bowl. But they were always in control of the situation. And then to me, this would signal they're no longer quite in control. And then even if you're like, well, you know, fresh out of an injury with Mahomes, so you can kind of give him that year. But then you're talking about the following year and he's like, now he's even older. And now that scar tissue is completely built up in there. And now you're like, okay, what does this look like now for these next few years? Because again, every year that passes he's getting older and older. It's like that's obviously a real thing. And I leave the door open for a team like the Chiefs or Mahomes to not look 100%. I do. I really, really do. But it doesn't mean that it wouldn't concern me. Doesn't mean that it wouldn't concern me. And also, even if he loses some of his mobility, this is what I've been talking about forever. All these quarterbacks are going to slow down. Who are you going to be like? I've said this about Lamar, Mahomes, Allen, we got a glimpse of what these quarterbacks will look like when they're a little bit slower. And it's just like, you're going to have to elevate. When the mobility isn't quite there and the elusiveness isn't quite there, who are you? There's a reason why Stafford and Brady and even Aaron Rodgers, because they can be so elite and deadly from the pocket, pre-snap, all this type of stuff in a way that you just don't consistently see Lamar, Josh, or Mahomes do. You just don't. I don't really think that's like very controversial. And so, it's always been someone like a Mahomes, it's always been the sum greater than its parts, right? It's when you put all of this together. And so, we will get glimpses. If he loses mobility, then we're going to get a glimpse of like, okay, what does this look like now? What does a slightly slower version of Mahomes look like? If he's not still an elite quarterback, an elite decision maker, an elite passer, well, then there's major concerns. Then there's major concerns. Not saying that he's going to fall off a cliff. Not saying that he's going to now turn into Gardner Minshew. But it starts to pop the whole bubble idea of like, well, he's going to be able to play great and elite for the next 8 years. And it's like, I don't know about that. You start to flirt with his trajectory looking more like Russell Wilson's. Then everyone just thinks he's like, no, none of these quarterbacks are going to age like Russell. None of them. And it's like, they might. Everyone had Russ as a Hall of Famer. And then he wasn't. Everyone's like, no. Look at Tom Brady. And it's like, guys, that's more of the exception. But it's Mahomes. But it's Allen. I get it. It's still very, very unique for Tom. And so, I still do think that especially these mobile, more elusive quarterbacks, it's mid-30s when things start to get a little dicey. And you know, I've listened to an interview where, listen, I don't always take what ex-players say to heart because sometimes I think they speak reality, sometimes I think they speak the truth, other times I'm like, it's a little bit harder to fight through it. But people are making a genuine argument that Mahomes is already like not quite in his prime right now. And it's nothing to do with the team around him. Nothing to do with the O-line. Nothing to do with anything else. And it's just like, if that's true, then you lose a tremendous amount of magic. Do I still think the Chiefs could win and be great and even win a Super Bowl with a Mahomes that's not necessarily in his prime? I do. But it's just then why? Oh, you are in a situation where you're like, yeah, we only won 9 games this year. And it's like, I don't know what version of the Kansas City Chiefs that is then. And then that starts to change everything because it's like, okay, well then things change for Andy. Things change for the franchise as a whole, for the Chiefs as a whole. And this is why I had said, go out and get an elite playmaker. Go out and get your next Travis Kelce. That's why I pleaded with the Chiefs, go out and do that. Kenneth Walker is going to add to this team, but he's not going to redefine it. Get that next security blanket for Mahomes because it's no longer Kelce. Get that monster. Get that playmaker. And then you're putting yourself in a significantly better situation. But if you're trying to say, hey, you know what? We're just going to be a tough defensive team and we're going to run the ball a lot and then there we go. Like, yeah, that'll be great and you can still trust that Mahomes can execute and Andy can execute down the stretch. But when you're going up against teams that have more firepower that can break through your defense and you're not slowing them down, it's like, can you keep up? Can you keep up? And if you don't have the playmakers, it's like Sam Darnold, they had an elite defense and they were unable to slow down the Rams, especially in the NFC Championship game. And it's like, well, Sam Darnold and Jackson Smith-Njigba were able to light it up. And so, even if you have a great defensive team, when you go up against a great offense and they're able to break through, can you keep up? And if the answer is no, well then you're in trouble. Then you're in trouble. So, yeah. Fascinating. Absolutely, positively fascinating. And if the Chiefs win this coming season and Colin says, all you guys doubted the Kansas City Chiefs. And then wait a second. Didn't you have them missing the playoffs? But let me know your thoughts. I read every single comment. Whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get into some discussions. Let's get into some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. Please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up as it really does help visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.